Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Realty Group Podcast, where we bring you the most up-to-date, relevant real estate information you're going to find anywhere on the planet. You're going to get it right here. Compliments of your friends at Elite Realty Group. I am Mike Elkins. That's my co-host, Dave Elkins. And again, we are here today to talk real estate with you. Wherever you're watching, listening from today, make sure you like, subscribe to our channels. That way you get all of this up-to-date, relevant real estate information that's coming from us to you. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Ready to tackle this today. I think this is going to be a really good informational episode of the podcast that people's really, I feel like, going to resonate with. I think this is going to hit home to a whole lot of people because showing a lot of properties, assisting a lot of buyers, just literally helping a whole lot of people buy houses. I think we see these red flags. We kind of know what they are. We kind of know what to look for, all of those good things. But giving the information out to the people is what we're here to do.
That's right. That's right. We, again, like you said, we see a lot of this stuff. And so a lot of times as buyers, they get kind of excited. And like you said, they kind of focus more on the stuff,
absolutely,
the contents of the house. But these are some 4 really big red flag items that you should really look for when you're looking at it.
Yeah, and not only are we going to point out to you today what those red flags are, like what you need to be looking for, what you need to be concerned about. Some of these may even be out of the scope of your expertise as a buyer. It certainly is our expertise as real estate agents.
Yeah.
It could totally be out of your scope of expertise. We're going to give you a hot tip at the end that's really going to help you satisfy and solidify that you've covered your bases and make sure that you have hit everything that it is that you need to hit. So let's dive right in. We've got 4 of them. We're going to discuss them. Again, discussions that you guys may have in the comments, you can leave that. Again, anything you want to do, make sure that you comment on this today and let us know about this. So the first one we're going to go with, 4 big red flags buyers need to be aware of when they're looking for a home. The first big one that I want us to discuss today is foundation and structural issues.
Yep.
That's a big deal.
Yep.
Okay. When you start talking about the foundation, the bones, the structure of the property. So everything else that's being held up by the structure, the foundation, those issues. If you've got issues with that, you've got big issues.
Yep.
You have major issues that are up on your hands. So you want to make sure that you're carefully taking a look when you go through these properties, you look at these houses. You want to make sure you're going through and you're kind of putting your eyeballs on some very key spots. Now, where we are here in East Tennessee, a lot of times this is a pretty easy task for you to do as far as put your eyes on some things, because a lot of homes here, we're on basements.
Yep.
You know, we've got the basement. You can totally go down and look in it. And that basement, a lot of times, is going to tell you a really big story. And so just by looking at the basement, when you go down, take a look for cracks, look for walls just being pushed in. You say, really, can you see a wall pushed in? Absolutely.
Yeah, you'll see bowing walls in basements. That's not an uncommon thing to see.
It happens more than you guys really think. But if you kind of go through and look at those things, this still may be the house. You may see some stuff, okay? Mm-hmm. This still may be the house that you go through and you say, you know what, I do see there's some issues here. I'm going to put a contract on it. We can look for those things later, and that's always true. But it would be kind of good to know, if you got a thought process in your head before you ever go down that road, if you may already have some issues, you want to put your eyes on that. So be looking for those things. Look for cracks in the block, cracks in the mortar that's holding the block. You can also kind of get some upstairs when you're up there looking around. Your sheetrock's cracked.
Yeah, look in the corners, look around the doors, the windows, all those things. Again, you're going to see that a lot here. You probably see that everywhere, because no matter what, a lot of times you're going to see, houses do settle over time.
Absolutely.
So settling is normal.
Sure.
Okay, so and sometimes you're going to see settlement cracks around doors. That's not out of the norm. But again, it's things that you want to keep your eye on, because again, you're getting ready to spend a lot of money on this house, and we're going to say this probably here at the end, but a lot of this stuff is going to come out when you have home inspections.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. But you kind of want to know that going into it, because One thing that we want to make sure that people understand is a home inspection is not a requirement.
No.
It is a buyer's choice to have that. So, yeah, earnest money, trust money, a lot of people call it different stuff. That money is refundable if, you find a problem in the home inspection and it can't get resolved.
Absolutely.
You are entitled to get that money back. Home inspection money is not that way, okay? So you do not get your money back for a home inspection.
No.
So, you kind of want to know that going in. If you walk in and you can see that the basement wall is caving in, you might not want to spend $500 or $600 to have a home inspection, because they're going to come back and say, got problems.
Absolutely. And you look at those things, that also, we again assist a lot of people buying houses. And so you look at this and you say this: if you see things yourself, okay, going into, I'm going to make an offer and I'm going to go ahead and go through home inspection, it is totally okay for you to have a conversation with that home inspector and say, look, I've got some thoughts of some issues that I think this house has. So make sure you really pay attention to these areas.
Yep.
And you see those, again, cracks in the sheetrock, in the block, all those things, that kind of gives you a little bit of a sign. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, if you've got that house that it's not on a basement, you got a crawl space, you're going to have to, get up under there. Well, that's another reason why you're going to get a home inspector. But a lot of the telltale signs on those are sloping, sagging floors.
Yep.
You're going to know. Now, remember, we're not just talking about walls here. We're talking about structural, foundational issues. You got sagging floors. There's something wrong structurally somewhere, whether that's in a floor joist, whether that's something that's holding that floor up. That floor's sagging, something's not right. Could that be foundation? Could that be the block that the home's sitting on? Absolutely, it could. But that's some of those telltale signs that's going to give you the answers to the questions that you're looking for. We're pointing out to you today the major red flags.
Right.
These are big deal issues. Mm-hmm. You also see why we want to point this out to you and tell you this today is all issues can be resolved. Okay, Every one of them can be resolved. The question will come up, and the question that has to be answered is, at what price will it take for this issue to be resolved?
Right.
Why is foundation and structural issues a big deal? Because typically it is a hefty price to resolve the issue.
Yep.
Depending on how bad, what the exact issue is, we're talking about thousands upon thousands of dollars to resolve this issue. Literally just a week or two ago, this issue popped up for a client of ours. It was over $20,000 to have this issue resolved. Mm-hmm. That's a lot of money.
Yep.
Somebody's going to have to pay for that. Is that you, the buyer? Is that the seller? Where's that coming from? How's it going to get done? When's it going to get done? That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a big deal.
Yeah. And let's give a little sigh of relief here. Okay. Because again, like you said, we do this a lot and we see this stuff a lot. Now, this is a individual decision that has to be made when it comes to this. I had one just a while back. The home inspector saw the basement. It looked like the wall was taking on a little bit of weight. You could see I'm going to talk about this in a minute, some moisture around that wall. Mm-hmm. So we had a structural engineer come look at it. Structural engineer made a recommendation that, this needs to be addressed. I had the buyer, we told the seller what was going on. Seller was totally 100% cooperating with that. It was about a $32,000 fix, but the seller paid for that fix.
Absolutely.
And the buyer took the house.
Yes.
So again, as the buyer, you've got that opportunity once that problem is found to go to the seller.
Sure.
Okay. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen all the time. Sellers might not agree to it, but at least you ask. So again, don't just think because, hey, now some buyers are going to be like, well, if it's got structural problems, I'm out. Well, this company fixed the structural problems, gave a lifetime warranty that they will never have to worry about anything with this. So that's an individual buyer decision. I'm saying, like, some people might say, well, nope, I'm out. And some people's like, hey, if it gets fixed and I get a lifetime warranty that I ain't going to worry about it, I'm cool with it.
Absolutely.
So that's an individual decision that you're going to have to make as the buyer.
Absolutely. You just can't forget, okay? We're talking 4 big red flags you need to watch for when you're looking through, you're going on that tour of the house. Your foundation and your structure of this house, that's the backbone of the whole thing.
Absolutely,
If that's broken, if that's out of whack, if that's out of line, you got some issues.
Yeah.
You need to make sure that you are totally aware of those issues. So again, foundation and structural issues, that's number one today. Talk to us about number two.
Number two, I'm going to go with water damage and like moisture problems, okay, which is going to be caused by the water. Okay,
Sure.
So this is, again, in our area, sometimes easier to spot because a lot of people's got basements. So let's talk about basements and then we'll go up. So a lot of times you're going to see in the corners of basement, you're going to be able to tell, look and see by the block in the basement, if it's unfinished, that there is, you can tell that this block has been wet, okay? Now, a lot of people freak out right off the bat and think, okay, something big's going on. It's a lot of times, if you see moisture in the corner of a basement, it's as simple as a downspout.
Sure.
Maybe it's just pouring in that. They don't have it diverted away from the house. But you want to keep your eye on that, okay? You're also going to be able to see that, but most of the times you're going to be able to smell that. So keep in mind, if you walk into a basement and you smell that musty, smell, stagnant air, a lot of times you've got some moisture problems there, okay? They'll figure that out where it comes from.
Sure.
So let's move up now, okay? A lot of times we think of this, we don't think of this, but you have a leaky roof, okay? So we need to, when we go in, we need to look for moisture spots on the ceiling. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. You've seen those brown rings, okay? Keep that in mind. It could just be as simple as a leaky roof,
right?
But it could, who knows how long that's been going on. So now we could have mold,
right?
Wood rot on some of our trusses up in the attic. Those are things that you want to keep in mind. Going back to like Mike said with the crawl spaces, a lot of times you'll see that the land has not been graded correctly, and we're allowing water to run through our crawl space. Now, a lot of people say, okay, what's the problem with that? If it's just running through and running out, might not be that big of a thing. But if you've got moisture that sits underneath that house because the sun can't dry it up,
sure,
you've got moisture sitting in there. Now you've got mold, fungus growing on the bottom of your floor, your wood floor, which can cause wood rot.
Absolutely.
So keep those things in mind. Anytime you walk in to a house and you smell a musty smell, there's a good chance you've got some water issues going on.
Yes.
Simple things to look for. You don't really have to be like a big detective to be able to look up on the roof and see, or on the ceiling and see, hey, I've got some water spots.
Right.
Okay, same thing. Soft, spongy floors. You can kind of feel that. A lot of times that means you got moisture under the house.
Absolutely. And when you start talking about the water ain't the problem, really. It's what the water does. It's what the water causes. And you mentioned a couple here that I think we need to dive into more. You talk about mold. You talk about fungus. You talk about these different kind of spores that start being created because you've got this issue in your house and it's a water issue. Again, whether that be from the roof, whether that be from the downspouts underneath, all that stuff. Again, the water's going to come through. It's what the water does after it's there.
Right.
Okay? Water just running over your, a lot of people have told us before, I ain't worried about water. Like, they leave the roof, they build these houses, they ain't got no roof on it. Rains all over the floors and everything. Like, I ain't worried about that.
Right.
Well, nobody is worried about just the water. It's the water of what it does after, like you said, it's not dried out. Now we went from, I have a shingle missing, I got a downspout that needs to be diverted. Now I've got really what you would call major health issues that's coming up.
Yeah.
I got on one side of TikTok. I got on one side one time of mold issues in people's houses, and like people living with mold. Like, it's a big deal. Like, we're talking about major health hazards.
Right.
If those issues are in your house, that again is mold, different types of fungus, like what you said, just stagnation, the smell, mildew, mud, all that stuff is just bad for you to breathe.
Yep.
And it's whether we want to admit this or not, but there becomes a time in our own homes that we live in them, okay, that our house smells like our house.
Right.
And you walk in your house and there's nothing there to you.
You don't even smell it.
You don't even notice it. But somebody else comes in like you as a buyer, and you're like, wow, there's something going on in this house. And so again, a lot of times your nose will tell you that story. Of course, if you can visibly see it.
Yeah.
That's going to be an issue. You're going to be able to know that. Again, all problems can be fixed.
Right.
Just what do we got to do to get them fixed?
Yeah, like going back to, like I said, water sometimes ain't the biggest problem, but it's what water causes.
No.
It's the cause of the water that's coming through that allows you to get the mold, the fungus, the mildew, all that stuff, which in turn causes more problems. So
Absolutely.
you got to find out where the water problem's at, and you got to stop it, because if not, you're asking for more, bigger problems.
Absolutely. We've been through 2 of the 4. Big red flags you need to look for if you're a buyer out there. You're going on these tours, these houses. Again, you want to look at the stuff that we mentioned earlier. Check the floors, check the carpet, look at the cabinets. All that stuff is things you want to make sure you're putting your eyes on. But those fixes aren't what you call major if there's an issue. Okay?
Right.
We're talking about 4 major red flags today. You need to make sure you got your eyes on. You're looking out for, make sure you're taking care of yourself and the investment, and in the one we just talked about, your health of living in these homes. So here's number 3. And number 3 is going to kind of tie back into 1 and 2 and probably jump over to 4, because this is something, just to be quite honest with you, as people being in this industry, this is probably one of the ones we see the most. And literally, it's just on the paper here. You've got the DIY, okay, the do-it-yourself. I fall in this category, unfortunately.
A lot of us do.
And just poor quality repairs. Like, there are things that, we always tell people as realtors, as agents, we got to get this house ready to go on the market.
Right.
Okay. And sellers will look at this and go, okay, well, I know I got this issue. I got that issue. I got to do this, got to do that. And just be quite honest with you, I fall in this category. Mm-hmm. I'm not qualified to fix what I know is wrong.
Right.
But instead of me wanting to spend extra money, go hire a professional that can get this done, I do it myself.
Yeah.
And those do-it-yourself repairs, those fixes, those a lot of times, unfortunately, they turn out poor.
Yes.
Okay. And I say that to look at and maybe jump a little bit ahead by saying, when you do find problems, especially if you've got a home inspection, you're going into this property, you're looking at it, you're probably going to ask for these things to be done. My issue with the do-it-yourself is not on the front end, is if they want to do that on the backside. Like, right. I've already found I got leaks. I already found I got downspout problems. I already found I need shingles on the roof, and right. I got a basement wall that's bad shape. Floor joist needs repaired. I really want a professional to get that done.
Yes.
Okay. Again, on the front side is bad. You need to look for that because they may not did work the way it needs to be done. But on the back side especially.
Right.
If I'm going to be asking for repairs to be done, God bless us all that try to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
But there are people who are pros that do what they do. They're great at what they do. It's going to be up to code. It's going to be done right. I'm not going to have to worry about it. A lot of times those people even offer warranty type things on the work, guarantees on their work, their craftsmanship, their labor. That's just a big thing that you want to look for, because it becomes a major issue.
Yeah.
If old Mike does it himself, and it may look good, smell good, feel good, but I just didn't quite do it right, it can become a major issue down the road for you that now we got a red flag and it's all over here on us.
A lot of times you see this stuff like with electrical stuff,
Yes.
A lot of times, people think that they can do this. So again, they might be able to do it and it might be okay, but maybe it wasn't done at 100% right. They're overloading something. So it's going to work for a little bit, but it could overload something, which is going to cause your breaker box to get hot, whatever. You could have a fire. So again, major stuff.
Major.
Plumbing, you're going to end up flooding your house, different stuff like that. But I mean, we've literally seen people. I'll never forget one time I went to look at a house, and the basement wall was leaning. Okay, now the seller had a fix for this, and they come out in the middle of the basement floor and took some kind of bolt system and bolted this big piece of wood to the concrete floor, bolted it to the floor. Took another piece of wood and made a brace and leaned it against the wall so that the wall was supported, not done correctly. This more of the story.
Do it yourself.
Not done correctly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If it's outside of your area of expertise, and most stuff is, whether us men want to admit it or not, it's probably outside of your area of expertise.
Right.
Get a professional to do it. Okay.
Yes.
Get a professional to do it. It could turn into bigger problems if you don't.
I'm just telling you, I fall into that category very well. And it is sometimes hard for us to say, I need to get somebody else to do it. But we're coming back to 4 red flags. This is number 3 of 4 today. If you're a buyer looking for a home, take a look at those do-it-yourself repairs.
Yes.
Take a look and make sure, if things have been done, especially if you asked for it in a home inspection, it was done at a quality level that satisfies you.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're the one got to be satisfied with it. It's got to check the boxes that you think need to be done and suffice what you want. If you ain't happy, then ain't nobody happy.
Yeah.
So again, that's number 3. Do-it-yourself projects and just poor craftsmanship. That's a red flag you want to look for, because I do go back to say, if it looks bad and you can see it, what looks bad that you can't see?
Right.
That maybe somebody else tried to fix.
Right.
Watch for that. Number 4.
Number 4 is the biggest thing that most of the time we talk about in real estate. But I'm going to say, so it's your neighborhood and the location. Okay. So you've all heard that location is major when it comes to real estate. This is 100% true. Again, don't take a home inspector to figure this out. This is you. Okay.
This is you. That's right.
So, things to look for, okay, is if you see a ton of houses for sale in a specific area.
Check it.
Now, not saying that it's always going to be the case, because we know as real estate agents, one of the biggest times you think about selling your house is when you see somebody else in your neighborhood selling. You're thinking, hey, they're going to make some money. This is what houses are selling for now. Wow, I might should sell mine.
Sure.
But if you see an abundance of houses for sale, maybe it's because there's a problem with the area.
Yes.
Okay. So if you see overgrown properties, homes that are not being taken care of,
maintain well.
Those are things to keep in mind, because that, at the end of the day, is going to affect the value of your home when it comes time for you to sell it later. If your neighborhood is on the decline, we got some of these neighborhoods here. We've got some neighborhoods that used to be really nice neighborhoods. They've not been upkept like they should, and now those neighborhoods are not so good neighborhoods because the properties are not maintained. I tell people this is a big thing. Make sure you drive through the area multiple times.
Different times, too.
At different times of the day, because you want to see what's it like here in the morning, what's it like here afternoon, what's it here like in the evening, because you don't want to buy a house and when you come home from work at 6 o'clock in the day, your neighbor's got a junkyard auto mechanic shop going on in his front yard.
Right.
That might not be what you want to be beside of.
No.
Okay. Might not bother some people. That might not be for you. So go through at different times, at different days, to see what exactly is going on.
Absolutely.
Anytime you've got high noise, big noise areas, maybe that's not for you.
Right.
Keep that stuff in mind, because ultimately every bit of that stuff at the end of the day is going to affect negatively the value of your house. No doubt. So keep that stuff in mind.
I made this mistake the first house I ever bought. Like literally the first home I ever bought. Only time I could look at the house was after dark. We literally went and looked at the house twice. We were 100% only concerned with the house. It was dark, okay? Couldn't really look the neighborhood over. Didn't even think about looking the neighborhood over, okay? Mm-hmm. And what happened to be, it wasn't in my neighborhood, but it was literally across the street from my front yard, was a place that I just really didn't want to be around.
Didn't want to look at it.
I didn't want to look at it. And then when I moved in, I found out not that I only want to look at it, I didn't want to hear what was coming on from over there. I didn't want to be around what was happening over there. And I just made a major mistake. Mm-hmm. And
it happens a lot.
It happens a whole lot. You as a home buyer, you typically work, of course, you got a job. You're probably more of an evening looker, Right. Sometimes you can get there on the weekends and do the things, but for me, it was always of the night. It was always dark when I looked at the property. So even like the outside, I just got lucky on all that stuff, that there wasn't those kind of problems that were out there. It was just luck of the draw.
Right.
But the neighborhood was a bad thing. You also, there are a lot of good sites because neighborhood and location, you start pulling in schools, okay?
Yeah.
Got to worry about those.
Crime.
All of that, crime in the neighborhood. There are a lot of online statistical places you can go research all of that out to find out for yourself. But I highly suggest go through that neighborhood, even if it's not you going in the home. Go through that neighborhood morning, afternoon, and night at least one time, okay? Weekends at least one time. And if you know, hey, I go to work at this time, I go to school at this time, I go to church this time, visit at those times too to see what's the neighborhood like that I'm there. Because if you just go on the general rule of real estate, what you said hits the nail on the head. Location, location, location. There's a super chance, really, really good chance. This house you're buying, you're not staying there forever. You're going to sell this house at some point. Is the neighborhood going to support you being able to get out of the house when you sell it at the end? Is it going to be as good or better as it is right now, thus allowing you your real estate to appreciate, which is what everybody wants to do? That's a red flag if it's not. Are we telling not to buy in there? Absolutely not. You make that decision. But that's a red flag you want to be aware of, you want to watch out for, you want to make sure you're paying attention to when it comes to you buying a property. What else you got?
And I was going to say, like, I even know here in our area, you probably can do this everywhere, but you can even call your local police department.
Yes, you can.
And give them the address of the house, and they will tell you of how many times they get called out to this neighborhood or this area. Those are just good things to keep in mind, because if you're in a high crime rate, they get a lot of calls out there. You don't want to be, maybe you don't want to be around all that stuff. So it's a phone call, don't cost you nothing, but just call and ask.
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, we went over with you today 4 big red flags you want to look for if you're buying a house. Hopefully this information has been good information for you. It certainly is our privilege, our honor to put the information out to you guys, just giving you some things to be aware of. Now, once again, whatever channel you're watching, listening on today, whether it be, again, the podcast, make sure you like and subscribe to these channels. If you're on YouTube, subscribe, Facebook, do all those things. Just hit us up, because you're going to get good information every single week right here from your friends at Elite Realty Group. Again, for Dave Elkins, I'm Mike Elkins. For all of us at Elite Realty Group, we thank you guys for watching the podcast today. Again, stay tuned. We will be back next week. Until then, be safe, be blessed.